Have you noticed your blood sugar seems harder to control no matter how carefully you eat? Do you sometimes feel tired and drained even after a full meal, wondering why your energy just will not stay steady? Have you been searching for simple, natural ways to bring your numbers down without relying only on medication? If any of those questions felt familiar, you are definitely not alone, and this video is for you. We create calm, practical, easy to understand content made specifically for adults over 50 who want to take control of their health every single day. Hi, my name is Dr. Emily. Before we begin, please remember that everything shared in this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for advice from your own doctor or healthcare provider. Now, today we are talking about something that does not get nearly enough attention in the world of diabetes management, and that is plant-based protein. Most conversations about protein for diabetics focus on chicken, fish, eggs, and meat. And while those are certainly valid options, millions of people around the world manage their diabetes beautifully with vegetarian diets. And some research actually suggests that certain vegetarian protein sources may offer unique benefits for blood sugar control that animal proteins simply do not provide in the same way. But here's the thing. Not all vegetarian proteins are equal when it comes to diabetes. Some plant foods that are high in protein are also high in carbohydrates, which means they can raise blood sugar if you are not careful about portions and preparation. Others are low in carbohydrates, incredibly rich in fiber, and packed with nutrients that directly support insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and help your body manage glucose more efficiently. So in this video, Dr. Emily is going to walk you through the top 4 best vegetarian proteins for people with diabetes. These are not trendy superfoods that are hard to find or expensive to buy. These are real, accessible, everyday foods that you can start including in your meals this week. And by the end of this video, you will understand not just what these foods are, but exactly why they work, how to use them, and what portion sizes are appropriate for someone managing blood sugar every day. This is the kind of practical, detailed information that can genuinely make a difference in your numbers, your energy, and your overall confidence in managing your diabetes. So let us get into it. Let me tell you about Margaret first. Margaret is 64 years old and was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 6 years ago. When she first came to talk with her healthcare team about her diet, she was overwhelmed. She had been a vegetarian her whole life for personal reasons, and she was worried that managing diabetes without eating meat was going to be nearly impossible. She had read online that diabetics need a lot of protein to stay full and manage blood sugar, and she could not figure out how to get enough protein from plants without eating too many carbohydrates at the same time. Margaret started paying closer attention to which plant proteins she was eating and how she was preparing them. She made a few specific swaps and additions to her regular meals. Within about 3 months, her fasting blood sugar had dropped noticeably. Her energy levels throughout the day were more consistent, and she told her doctor she finally felt like she had a real plan she could stick to for the rest of her life. She was not on a complicated diet. She was simply eating the right plant proteins in the right ways. Then there is Rajinder, a 68-year-old retired teacher who had been managing pre-diabetes for 2 years. His doctor had told him that if he did not make changes, he would likely progress to full type 2 diabetes within the next year or two. Rajinder was already mostly vegetarian due to his cultural background and did not want to change that. What he did not realize was that some of the plant proteins he was already eating regularly were actually ideal for blood sugar control. Once he understood how to build his meals properly around those foods, his A1C came down significantly over the following 6 months. His doctor was genuinely impressed. Both Margaret and Rajinder discovered something that many people with diabetes do not know. The right vegetarian proteins are not a compromise or a second-best option. In some cases, they are actually a powerful first choice for managing blood sugar, reducing inflammation, and protecting the long-term health of your kidneys, heart, and nerves. Now that we understand why this matters so deeply, let us look at what you can actually do about it starting today. Here are the top 4 best vegetarian proteins for people with diabetes, explained in full detail. The first vegetarian protein on our list is lentils. And if you are not already eating lentils regularly, today is the day to start. Lentils are one of the most complete and beneficial foods that exist for people managing blood sugar, and they deserve far more attention than they typically receive. So what makes lentils so special for diabetes? The answer comes down to three things working together at the same time: protein, fiber, and a very low glycemic index. One cooked cup of lentils contains approximately 18 grams of protein. That is a substantial amount of protein from a single plant food. But what makes lentils truly remarkable for blood sugar is not just the protein content. It is the combination of that protein with nearly 16 grams of dietary fiber in that same cup. Now here's the part most people living with diabetes completely overlook, and it could be the key to better numbers. When you eat protein and fiber together in the same meal, the rate at which glucose enters your bloodstream slows down dramatically. Think of it this way. When you eat a food that contains carbohydrates but very little protein or fiber, those carbohydrates are broken down quickly and glucose rushes into your blood all at once. That creates a blood sugar spike. But when that same amount of carbohydrate is surrounded by fiber and accompanied by protein, the whole digestive process slows down. Glucose enters your bloodstream gradually and steadily, rather than all at once. Your pancreas can manage that gradual release much more effectively than it can manage a sudden spike. Lentils have a glycemic index of approximately 21 to 30, depending on the variety. To give you a sense of how low that is, white bread has a glycemic index of around 75. White rice is around 72. Even some foods that are considered healthy, like certain breakfast cereals, have glycemic index values in the 60 to 70 range. Lentils at 21 to 30 are extraordinarily low, meaning they cause a very gentle, gradual rise in blood sugar rather than a sharp spike. Lentils are also rich in magnesium, a mineral that plays a direct role in insulin sensitivity. Research has consistently shown that people with type 2 diabetes tend to have lower magnesium levels than people without diabetes, and that increasing magnesium intake can improve how effectively the body uses insulin. Every cup of lentils provides a meaningful amount of magnesium, which means you are supporting your insulin function at the same time as you are getting protein and managing your blood sugar. There are different varieties of lentils available, including green lentils, red lentils, brown lentils, and black lentils. All of them are beneficial for diabetes, though green and black lentils tend to have slightly more fiber because they hold their shape better during cooking and retain more of their outer hull. Red lentils cook faster and become softer, which is ideal for soups and dal, while green and black lentils work well in salads, stews, and grain bowls. When it comes to portion sizes, a good starting point for someone managing diabetes is half a cup to 1 full cup of cooked lentils per meal. If you are new to eating lentils regularly, start with smaller portions and gradually increase them, as the high fiber content can cause some digestive adjustment in the first couple of weeks. Drink plenty of water alongside lentil-based meals to support digestion. One practical tip that many people find helpful is to cook a large batch of lentils at the beginning of the week and keep them in the refrigerator. Cooked lentils stay fresh for up to 5 days in the refrigerator and can be added to soups, salads, wraps, and curries throughout the week without any additional cooking time. This makes it incredibly easy to include lentils in your daily meals without feeling like you are spending extra time in the kitchen. Avoid adding large amounts of high glycemic ingredients to your lentil dishes, such as white rice or bread on the side, as this can offset the blood sugar benefits. Instead, pair lentils with non-starchy vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, onions, and bell peppers to create a complete, deeply satisfying meal that keeps your blood sugar stable for hours afterward. The second vegetarian protein that is outstanding for people with diabetes is tofu. Tofu is made from soybeans and has been a staple food in many Asian cultures for thousands of years. In recent decades, it has become much more widely available in supermarkets around the world. And for people managing diabetes, it offers a truly impressive nutritional profile. What I am about to share next surprised even some of my patients who have been managing diabetes for years. Tofu contains virtually no carbohydrates. A standard serving of about 100 grams of firm tofu contains only 2 grams of carbohydrate. This means that tofu has essentially no direct impact on blood sugar levels at all. You can eat tofu without worrying about it contributing to a blood sugar spike, which is a genuinely rare quality in any food that also provides substantial protein. That same 100-gram serving of firm tofu provides approximately 8 to 10 grams of protein, depending on the brand and firmness. Extra firm tofu can provide even more. This protein is considered a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids that the human body cannot produce on its own. For vegetarians, and especially for older adults who are managing both diabetes and the natural muscle loss that comes with aging, getting complete protein from plant sources is enormously valuable. Tofu is also rich in isoflavones, which are natural plant compounds found in soybeans. Research has shown that isoflavones may help improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and support cardiovascular health. People with diabetes have a significantly higher risk of heart disease than the general population, so any food that supports heart health while also managing blood sugar is doing double duty in a very beneficial way. There is also evidence suggesting that replacing animal protein with soy protein, like tofu, can have a protective effect on kidney function. This is particularly important for people with diabetes, as diabetic nephropathy, which is kidney damage caused by long-term high blood sugar, is one of the most serious long-term complications of diabetes. Some research suggests that a diet that includes soy protein may reduce the stress on the kidneys compared to a diet high in animal protein, though it is always important to discuss kidney health specifically with your own doctor. Tofu comes in several different textures, including silken, soft, firm, and extra firm. For cooking methods that involve stir-frying, baking, grilling, or adding to curries, firm or extra firm tofu works best because it holds its shape well. Silken tofu has a very soft, creamy texture and works beautifully in smoothies, soups, and certain desserts. Both are nutritionally similar in terms of their protein and carbohydrate content. One thing to be aware of with tofu is that on its own, it has a relatively mild, neutral flavor. This is actually an advantage because it means tofu absorbs the flavors of whatever you cook it with very well. Marinating tofu before cooking significantly improves both its flavor and texture. A simple marinade of low-sodium soy sauce, garlic, ginger, and a small amount of sesame oil can transform tofu into a genuinely delicious and satisfying protein source. When buying tofu, look for varieties that are lower in sodium, as some processed tofu products can contain added salt. For people with diabetes who are also managing blood pressure, keeping sodium intake moderate is important for protecting heart and kidney health. A practical serving suggestion is to include about half a block of firm tofu, which is roughly 100 to 150 grams, in a main meal 2 to 3 times per week. Pair it with plenty of non-starchy vegetables and a small portion of a low glycemic carbohydrate, like quinoa or sweet potato, for a complete and blood sugar-friendly meal. The third outstanding vegetarian protein for people with diabetes is Greek yogurt. Now, Greek yogurt is technically an animal product, so if you follow a fully vegan diet, this one may not apply to you. But for vegetarians who include dairy in their diet, Greek yogurt is one of the most powerful foods available for managing blood sugar, and it deserves a prominent place in your daily routine. Stay with me here, because what comes next is probably the most practical thing in this entire video. The reason Greek yogurt is so beneficial for diabetes goes beyond just its protein content. It has to do with a specific mechanism involving how fermented dairy affects blood sugar and insulin. Plain, full-fat, or low-fat Greek yogurt contains approximately 15 to 20 grams of protein per cup. This is substantially more protein than regular yogurt, which typically contains only 5 to 8 grams per cup. The reason Greek yogurt is so much higher in protein is the straining process. During production, Greek yogurt is strained to remove most of the liquid whey, which concentrates the protein while also removing a significant portion of the lactose, which is the natural sugar found in milk. Because Greek yogurt has less lactose than regular milk or regular yogurt, it has a lower impact on blood sugar than you might expect from a dairy product. The glycemic index of plain Greek yogurt is approximately 11, which is exceptionally low. This means it causes a very minimal rise in blood sugar, making it one of the safest and most beneficial dairy foods for people managing diabetes. There is also a fascinating connection between fermented dairy products like Greek yogurt and gut health. The probiotics found in Greek yogurt, which are live beneficial bacteria, help maintain a healthy gut microbiome. Emerging research is showing increasingly strong links between gut microbiome health and blood sugar regulation. A healthy, diverse gut microbiome appears to support better insulin sensitivity and may help reduce the chronic, low-grade inflammation that is associated with type 2 diabetes. While this area of research is still developing, the early findings are genuinely exciting. Protein in Greek yogurt is also particularly beneficial for older adults because it contains a high proportion of leucine, which is one of the branched-chain amino acids most directly responsible for stimulating muscle protein synthesis. Maintaining muscle mass as we age is critically important for everyone, but it is especially important for people with diabetes because muscle tissue is one of the primary sites where glucose is absorbed from the bloodstream. More muscle mass means more capacity for your body to absorb and use glucose effectively, which directly supports blood sugar control. The most important thing to remember with Greek yogurt is to choose plain varieties and avoid flavored or sweetened versions. Flavored Greek yogurts, even ones marketed as low-fat or diet-friendly, often contain significant amounts of added sugar that can cause a meaningful blood sugar spike. Plain Greek yogurt can taste slightly sour on its own, but you can make it delicious and diabetes-friendly by topping it with a small handful of berries, a sprinkle of cinnamon, or a few chopped nuts, all of which have minimal impact on blood sugar. Full-fat Greek yogurt tends to be more satisfying than low-fat versions because the fat slows digestion and increases the sense of fullness. For people managing diabetes, feeling satisfied after eating is genuinely important because it reduces the likelihood of reaching for high carbohydrate snacks between meals. If you are also managing weight alongside diabetes, speak with your healthcare provider about whether full-fat or low-fat versions are more appropriate for your individual situation. A portion of about 3/4 of a cup to 1 full cup of plain Greek yogurt per day is a reasonable and beneficial amount for most people with diabetes. It can be eaten as breakfast, a snack, or even as part of a savory meal, used as a substitute for sour cream or as a base for dressings and dips. This next point is something most doctors do not have time to explain in a short appointment, so pay close attention. Before we move to the fourth protein, this is the perfect moment for an important myth that many people with diabetes believe, and it is one that could genuinely be affecting your numbers without you realizing it. Here is the myth. Many people with diabetes believe that as long as their fasting blood sugar looks good in the morning, their diabetes is well controlled. So they check their blood sugar when they wake up, see a reasonable number, and feel reassured that they are managing things well. But here's what research actually shows. For many people with diabetes, the biggest and most damaging blood sugar spikes happen not in the morning, but in the 2 hours after meals. These post-meal spikes, which doctors call postprandial hyperglycemia, can reach very high levels, even when fasting blood sugar appears normal. And it is these repeated post-meal spikes that are strongly linked to the development of diabetes complications, including nerve damage, kidney damage, and cardiovascular disease. Why does this matter for the proteins we are discussing today? Because the specific vegetarian proteins in this video, particularly lentils, tofu, and Greek yogurt, have been shown in studies to significantly blunt these post-meal blood sugar spikes when included as part of a balanced meal. They do this through different mechanisms, including slowing digestion, reducing the glycemic load of the overall meal, and directly supporting insulin sensitivity. So by including these proteins in your meals, you are not just getting nutrition, you are actively protecting yourself against the kind of blood sugar pattern that causes the most long-term damage. If you have a blood glucose monitor and you are not currently checking your blood sugar 2 hours after meals, consider discussing with your healthcare provider whether that would be useful information for managing your diabetes more precisely. The fourth and final outstanding vegetarian protein for people with diabetes is edamame. Edamame are young green soybeans harvested before they fully mature. They are most commonly found in the frozen food section of grocery stores, either in the pod or already shelled, and they are one of the most convenient, affordable, and nutritionally powerful plant proteins available anywhere. And if you only remember one thing from today, let it be this next part about edamame, because this food genuinely surprised me when I first looked closely at its nutritional profile for diabetes management. 1 cup of shelled cooked edamame contains approximately 17 to 18 grams of complete protein. That is comparable to many animal protein sources. The same cup contains only about 12 to 14 grams of net carbohydrates, which is quite low for a food that also provides that much protein and fiber. The fiber content of 1 cup of edamame is approximately 8 grams, which, as we discussed with lentils, works together with the protein to slow down glucose absorption and reduce blood sugar spikes after eating. Edamame also has a glycemic index of approximately 18, placing it in the same exceptionally low category as lentils. This means that despite containing some carbohydrates, the structure of those carbohydrates and their combination with protein and fiber results in a very gentle, gradual glucose response rather than a spike. Beyond its blood sugar benefits, edamame is rich in several nutrients that are particularly valuable for people with diabetes. It contains folate, which supports cardiovascular health. It provides iron, which is important for people who do not eat meat. It is a good source of vitamin K, which plays a role in bone health. And like tofu, it contains beneficial isoflavones from soy that may support insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. One of the most practical things about edamame is how easy it is to prepare and eat. Frozen edamame can be boiled or microwaved in just 5 minutes. You can eat it as a snack straight from the pod with a very small amount of sea salt. You can add shelled edamame to salads, grain bowls, stir-fries, soups, and pasta dishes. It is one of the few protein sources that genuinely requires almost no preparation time, which makes it a realistic and sustainable option for daily life. For people who are managing both diabetes and their weight, edamame is particularly useful as a snack because its combination of protein, fiber, and moderate fat content makes it extremely satisfying. It keeps you feeling full for a sustained period, which reduces the desire to reach for high carbohydrate snacks between meals. This is important because frequent snacking on high carbohydrate foods is one of the most common patterns that disrupts blood sugar stability throughout the day. A healthy portion of edamame for someone managing diabetes is about half a cup to 1 cup of shelled edamame per serving. If you are eating it in the pod, that would be about 1.5 to 2 cups of pods. Because edamame is a soy food, the same considerations about kidney health that we mentioned with tofu apply here. If you have been advised by your doctor to limit your protein intake due to kidney concerns, speak with your healthcare team about appropriate portions before making significant changes. One thing to be mindful of with commercially prepared edamame products, particularly those sold as snacks or in seasoning blends, is that they can sometimes be high in sodium. Choosing plain frozen edamame and seasoning it yourself at home gives you the most control over your sodium intake, which is important for blood pressure and kidney health in diabetes. So let us bring everything together now. We have covered 4 outstanding vegetarian proteins for people with diabetes. Lentils, with their extraordinary combination of 18 grams of protein, 16 grams of fiber, and a glycemic index of approximately 21 to 30, making them one of the most powerful blood sugar stabilizing foods that exist. Tofu, with its virtually zero carbohydrate content, complete amino acid profile, and potential benefits for kidney health and insulin sensitivity. Greek yogurt, with its exceptional protein density, very low glycemic index of approximately 11, and probiotic benefits that support gut health and long-term insulin sensitivity. And edamame, with its remarkable nutritional profile including 18 grams of complete protein, 8 grams of fiber, and a glycemic index of approximately 18, combined with incredible convenience and versatility. Each of these proteins works through slightly different mechanisms, but all 4 share a common outcome. They support more stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. They provide sustained energy without sharp spikes and crashes. They nourish the body with nutrients that directly support diabetes management, and they contribute to the long-term health of the organs most at risk from diabetes complications. Now, you do not need to eat all 4 of these proteins every single day. What matters most is building a consistent pattern over time. Even including 2 or 3 of these foods regularly into your weekly meals can make a meaningful difference in your numbers and your overall sense of well-being. Here is one simple action you can take today. Look at what you are having for your next main meal. Ask yourself whether it includes any of these 4 proteins. If it does not, see if there is a simple way to add one of them. Perhaps a small portion of lentil soup alongside your meal, a handful of edamame as a side dish, a portion of tofu added to a stir fry or salad, or a bowl of plain Greek yogurt with some berries for breakfast or a snack. Start with just one addition and notice how you feel. Notice your energy levels. If you have a glucose monitor, check your blood sugar 2 hours after a meal that includes one of these proteins and compare it to a meal that does not. The difference may genuinely surprise you.